A positive week. Disc golfers took back control of House of Disc, Bud Hill Masters is saved by the community, disc golf playoffs kick off, and then Drew had to go and ruin it all this week in disc golf. What's going on, all you disc-generates? It's Swiss Cheese, the one with all the holes in his game, and I'm with the disc golf world. And you're watching This Week in Disc Golf, where I cover all things disc golf from the past week. Quick thanks to everyone on our growing Patreon page, and of course, you who are currently watching. You are all helping this channel tour along with the pros, as the disc golf world is funded solely by you, the fans. I really don't want to take up much more time, but hear me out for your chance to win. This week's episode is brought to you by our friends over at OTB East, who actually were kind enough to donate an exclusive MVP Open dealer variant parachute disc to give away to one of you lucky disc-generates. This parachute differs from the drop everyone is clamoring for and even more rare. All you have to do is make sure you're subscribed to the Disc Golf World and simply comment who you think's going to win the MPO at the Green Mountain Championship, along with their winning score before Saturday's round. The lucky one with the correct answer or the winner with the closest score who commented first will win this absolutely sick exclusive disc. And if you weren't fortunate enough to win, come back next week for another chance. But let's jump into the video already. For all the negativity you guys believe we promote, this week actually saw some positive moments. The biggest coming from House of Disc, the private equity company who recently shifted their leadership away from venture capitalists back into the hands of disc golfers. Or at least that's what's in the announcement. Don't get me wrong here, we should all still be watching House of Discs very carefully, as if it was all our own backs at a P. Diddy party.
No Diddy.
But this announcement does seem to be a move in the right direction, as even they are touting these moves as a founder-led focus, bringing these brands back closer to their original DNA. Certainly so, when these positions were once held by people whose background included outdoor gear industry and vice president of merchandising and design at Dickies. The announcement saw the promotion of David Berglund, founder of Latitude 64, returning to the CEO role of House of Discs. I know that sounds odd to some of you, but be patient, I'll get to it. Along with it, the promotion of Seth Fenley to the general manager of North America, and Juho Rantahaiho. Man, that's a mouthful. And I'm sorry, Juho, for the butcher job, but he has just been promoted to general manager of Europe. In a world, some of you will get that joke, but most won't. Fenley's background includes over 7 years spent working in disc golf, including working for the Disc Golf Pro Tour for over 5 years, with his highest role there being Vice President of Administration and Finance, and since has been affiliated with Latitude 64 as brand and team manager. Juho worked alongside Jussi Maresma and was the former CEO of Discmania and still partial owner of the company, along with him being attached to the Disc Golf Park Designer team with 80 courses designed, including competition-level courses throughout Europe. The Berglund aspect of this announcement is odd to many, including me, because for most disc golfers, Berglund has been the CEO of House of Discs from the start. I've scoured to find a mention of any other CEO listed for the House of Discs, aside from Berglund. There's been no reference, press release, or a post listing any other CEO than him from the creation. Brings the question, how has he returned if he was never officially replaced? At least there was never an announcement made by House of Disc stating such. Brings a lot of questions on this latest announcement. Was he just a figurehead while business decisions were made by Vendis Capital leadership? And will that continue still? Could be more basic and a simple marketing strategy to try and remove the stigma of House of Disc as a private equity firm. Kinda slimy if true, but could foreshadow some large up-and-coming changes that may look more favorable with new disc-minded leaders now in charge. Or this all could be the quote smart business-minded guys making the decisions have been wrong with the disc golf market shift from the COVID boom. Whichever thoughts you may align with, the shift to disc golf-minded businessmen with experience is still positive, even if it's just on paper. The companies under this umbrella have some of the biggest names in the game sponsored under them. Their growth and foothold in the sport needs to continue, especially if you are a fan of the pro game. And if that can be made and continued by disc golfers making the decisions, even better. This week also saw one of the largest scandals in disc golf's lifespan with J. Ray's confession letter and the subsequent cancellation of the Bud Hill Masters, covered by yours truly along with every disc golf personality or podcast. If you want even more of a backstory, make sure to check out the video. This has certainly been a giant black eye for the community, and debated heatedly by many in the sport for a few days now. as some of the old guard of disc golf even came to the defense of J-Ray, a friend of many. We're talking about some of the biggest name in the sport in PDGA, as their statements need to be studied on just how not to respond to illegal activity and a theft by one against a number of members of our community. You would have thought that would have been covered in DGPT's host training, but I digress. However, like I mentioned, it's not all doom and gloom, as the disc golf community uplifted itself once again, this time from the darkness of this J-Ray scandal. And the one to thank this time is Tyler Searle of Sword Disc Golf, and who is also part of Dynamic Discs. Tyler has made the decision to incur the financial burden for the entire A-tier side of the competition and allowing the Masters at Bud Hill to move forward. Tyler went on to Smashbox TV to make the announcement in what is one of the most incredible decisions we have seen in the sport. Tyler, a well-known touring TD and vendor, has held many events across the US in the past. In the announcement, Tyler would go on to say they will honor all refunds and are currently looking for sponsors to help with all the other players outside the A-tier status, where both host Terry Miller and John Van Derzen both donated along with others in the live comments. An absolute awesome job, guys, which certainly also needs to be recognized. The event's new TD will be Matt Lloyd, PDGA's operations and logistic manager. PDGA's efforts didn't stop there, however, as Doug Burkus, PDGA executive director, also announced that the PDGA will be donating player packs to the event, which was not initially part of the event. All in all, of these members and the swift response is what truly makes this sport great. Recognizing an issue and creating solutions for those impacted is truly an incredible charitable gesture that needs to be celebrated. Tyler, along with the team that's going to help move this event forward, I personally want to take the time to acknowledge your efforts, which is one of the most altruistic efforts I've seen from this sport in my lifetime. Allowing this event to continue helps not only the players registered, but also the Daniels, owners of Bud Hill, who have been impacted also. Now, these efforts certainly doesn't absolve J-Ray, but does remove the bad taste in everyone's mouth, as people most impacted are better off. Now that we got you all warm and fuzzy, Drew Gibson had to go kill those vibes with his latest video critiquing the sport and especially the tour. At least you can't blame us for the negativity this time.
Beth at 69.
I just told myself, you just got to will this one in there. Whatever you have, just will it in there.
This man is unbelievable. This is what athletes live for. This is the moment.
Drew goes after the PDGA and lack of standardizing efforts. The only thing I disagree with in this 15-minute video is his claim the PDGA needs more of a focus on the pro side of the game. Like he alludes to, the professionals represent only 1% of PDGA members. With those numbers, all disc golf members should be represented, as not all members follow the pro game. However, when the PDGA's main focus and membership driving force surrounds competition, I can't disagree with Drew's comments on standardizing the sport in its entirety. Drew doesn't hold back, is critical of course design and OB that lands within the bullseye, with a comparison to ball golf that makes the premise comical in our sport. Goes hard on High Notes Hill, saying our sport's premier event featured a hole on a mountain with a fluky slope, rocks, and stairs. But the High Note hits didn't stop there, going in depth on the efforts of Paul Macbeth's team at Mount Olympus, forced to install T-pads with specific DGPT specs, only to hold an Elite Plus event at Ledgestone with 5 different T-pad surfaces. Oh, I'm sorry, with a PDGA exception also. Drew then hits on his mainstay of elevated baskets, saying that manufacturers send specs to the PDGA for approval prior to manufacturing. Those specs, of course, needing to apply to the guidelines of a basket at a certain height from the ground, only to turn around and allow exceptions again for elevated baskets at countless tournaments, in large part due to lazy course design. More and more pros are getting vocal on the state of the game, and instead of treating them with comments as if they're millionaire pros playing a game like we do to others in mainstream sports, we should be looking to these pros and solutions and improvements to make the game better for the players and us spectating. Make sure to go check out Drew's video because it's poignant and direct. And while you're at it, let's hear your comments below. Let's get back into the positive as the DGPT playoffs kicked off yesterday with the Green Mountain Championship. The ladies started the action off. Kristen Tatar had a slow start, including a terrible hole 13, but finished 4 under on the final remaining holes to take a 2-stroke lead heading into the more open Fox run. Owen Scoggins, on the other hand, started hot with 4 birdies to kick off her round. had the most birdies on the day, but also added 4 bogeys on top. She currently sits in second place at 5 under. Tied for third, you have 4 players all at 4 under. Henna Blomroos, which none of you would have guessed, has the highest C1 percentage of these 6 players. Silva Saarinen, one of the best woods throwers, led in fairways, C1 and C2 in regulation. Rebecca Cox, who scored as many birdies as Tatar, but also had 3 C1 misses, all resulting in bogeys. And Haley King used 2 huge putts from distance and a 41 and a 58 footer to help her round. As for the DGPT Championship Bubble Watch, Stacy Kiefer entered this event in the final remaining spot, but lost ground on day 1. She started out strong, but also notched 3 double bogeys over the round. Eliezra Midling took advantage, finishing the day 2 under in the top 10 and heading to a course where her arm can shine. In the MPO, the top 8 point earners on the season will all have an earlier round than most are accustomed to, as most are on the 4th card or lower and will need to pick up some strokes today. Instead, Alden Harris came out with a hot round 11 under day 1, scored 5 C2 putts, all resulting in birdies, and has a 1-stroke lead over the rest of tomorrow's lead card. Eagle McMahon, who's also on the bubble, currently sitting at 32nd place, the last remaining position, scored a 10 under and was 100% in both circles. Guys, I'm going to say it. Eagle has returned and heading to Fox Run where he has a share of the course record. Our boy Casey White started out 7 under on the first 7 holes, cooled off from there but was a lipped out putt on 18 from having a share of the lead. Evan Scott put down the Mario Kart sticks enough to score the most birdies of tomorrow's lead card with 12, but unlike the other 3 was the only one to have a blemish on his card with 2 bogeys. As for the bubble watch, Eagle and Casey helped put some distance among those on the bubble. And Ezra Otterhold may feel he's better than half these people ahead of him in points, but his 70th place is only ahead of 3 players currently in the top 32, and he's not going to get there with that type of performance. Now, let's get to some quick hitters. Yeah, it's baseball, but he plays and owns some sick courses. Dylan Cease hits 1,000 Ks in his career. Some more good news, Katrina Allen had her first day back on the course. Cynthia Ricciardi and Kyle Klein got a caricature done. That artist really caught Klein's Where's Waldo emptiness in his eyes. Missy Gannon and Holland grabbed some mini golf to decompress, while Robert Burge, Emily Weatherman, Ellie Ezra, and Luke Taylor hit the pickleball instead. A check-in on Cole Rodolin, and he's still hitting rehab. Paige Pierce and Erica Stitchcomb preview a Jomez putting game that looks like it was played at the former Guts set. And guys, that wraps up this week in disc golf. If you've enjoyed and not subscribed, make sure to do so. And if you haven't already, hit that like button, comment, and share.